honestly, like, I think it was like 4,000 words.
Oh, that's a long story. I like that.
Right, but it's more so like, it's a story about somebody else. Like,
Okay.
like basically like a patient, I found an interview where she was telling about like a crime that was done to her.
Oh.
And so I was just explaining what happened to her.
Hello?
Hello, this is
Hi, how are you? Hang on, let me just turn on my video. Hi, how are you doing?
well, and dear.
Good. So this is our team here today. We're just missing one member today, but thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for letting me come on and talk to you for a little bit.
No problem at all. I don't think that I've never really met you, like, I guess in person either. I know we've connected a bit over Quip. I don't think they've gotten the chance to connect with you yet.
Yeah, well, I'm Shonda Lane Spurlock, and I'm the head of developmental editing for New Degree Press and Creator Institute. And so when you get a developmental editor, that's somebody that I have gone out and found who does developmental editing, which is what I do, to work with you on your book and helping you develop that.
Interesting. We were just talking about kind of our editors and our chats with them, so good time to come in.
Great. Well, I'm glad people have been talking to their editor, because it's one of the things I'm going to talk about today is the importance of keeping that communication door open. Mm-hmm. So, well, just to get started then real quick, have you guys done your one cool thing already? Have you already kind of opened the meeting or? Yeah,
we were just getting updates for each member. We usually like to start with that and then talking about maybe what we can kind of even do better.
Okay, I just want to make sure that when I came on, I wasn't like blowing up.
No, it's okay. You came in at a good time.
Okay, great. Well, what we do as DEs and what your DE should be helping you do is really come up with a clarity of ideas and of your themes in your writing. So they're really there to help you and make sure that you're communicating exactly what you want to say to your reader in the way that you want to say it. So it's more than word usage or things that you might normally have with a copy editor. A copy editor is someone that you'll meet much later in your manuscript journey. And they're there to clean up things like punctuation, spelling, grammar errors, noun-verb agreement. What your DE is there to do is to get you a structure for your stories and for your book as you work through to your manuscript that works to communicate your ideas in the best possible way. So it's a much broader thing, but at times a lot of your feedback will actually be very narrow. Like, hey, think about how you're using this particular word, because what you think the word means and the connotation of how the word is actually used may not match your message. So some of it may seem unusually broad, like, hey, you just need more detail here. We don't know enough about this person. We don't know enough about this story. We need more quotes. We need more dialogue. We need more understanding of why this story is important to include in the story that you're telling overall. Because that needs to be clear to the reader. And so that's something that your DE will definitely step in and help you do and help you achieve. And so that's really what we're there. We're there to help you communicate with the reader. We're there to help you identify problems, places where you might need more research, places where you might, like I said, need details, need quotes, and places where you might have gone way over the top. And this is more than anybody wants to know. Your point was made in paragraph 2, paragraphs 10 through 15. Thank you, but we need to lose that because now the reader is already thinking about other things and this has gone off topic. But that's part of what that DE is there to make sure that you're staying focused and staying on the points of your story.
Right.
So that's what a DE does and what a DE is there to do. And so I was going to leave it open to you guys. Do you have any questions, not only about DEs, but about other editors you might work with, or about the process itself, or the timeline for anything?
I actually did have a question. So I'm not sure if Eric had provided maybe me specifically with this resource, but is there a schedule in terms of the amount of words we should try to be hitting on a weekly basis? I think that it might be helpful for kind of keeping us on track, just to know, like, let's say in week 5, I have to finish 4,000 words. Like, where am I in relation to the benchmark?
Okay, so what you're going to get is, I'm not sure, you're what, in week 6?
I think I think this is week 6 session.
Week 6, so you're in Create Stories like week 2.
Yeah.
So at the end of this week, you would actually be getting one of your first reports.
Okay.
And what's going to happen is throughout the 10 weeks, you will get a report every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Telling you where you are and where you need to be at.
Okay, interesting.
And so that way people don't feel pressure and feel like they're already behind before they started.
Right.
And we don't want people to go out and see a calendar like that and go, well, week 3, I don't have 7,000 words, so I'm never going to catch up to that.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
So if we give you the benchmark reports, then you can see where you kind of fall in line with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It also gives you an idea of like, hey, I'm behind. I need to do a little more to catch up.
Right.
Or I'm right where I should be. Okay, I need to keep up this pace. And so it will give you a better idea for you to know how best to adjust how you're working.
Okay.
Because the truth is, the thing is, you're working for that 15 to 20,000 words, and you know that. And you know that at the end of 10 weeks, you're going to need to be able to show that you've written a number of stories to meet that 10 to 15,000 words.
Right. And do those
with reports every 2 weeks that will break it out for you where you should be. So you can always go back and look at your previous 2-week report and say, okay, that said I should be at about 4,000 words. This one says 10. I'm at 7. So I need to adjust my pace of work to achieve where I should be. Because at that point, you know, okay, I'm at 4 weeks. Because each report tells you, you're at 2 weeks, you're at 4 weeks, you're at 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And does that report come from our DEs?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's pretty clear. I know that they're kind of working on their first story right now, and then they've also been in kind of contact with their DEs. So I think everything's pretty smooth on that front in our end.
Well, that's great. That's great. And that was one of the things that I do definitely want to emphasize is that we can only help you as much as you let us.
Right.
So if you write things and don't tell us, if you don't answer messages, if you don't, I mean, that happens though. Yeah. We'll look up at the end and say, you didn't review any of my stories. And we'll go out and look, and there aren't any out there that we can get to. And they're hidden in a private folder. They didn't tag anybody. No one knew they were there.
Right.
We can't help you properly if you don't communicate.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, booking those phone calls and talking to your DE and asking your DE questions. If you have questions, that's what your DE is there for. Mm-hmm. If it's, you know, do these interview questions look great for this interview I want to have? To, you know, does this story work? Here's the structure I want to use, but am I actually saying what I want to say? What I want to say is X. Does this story do that?
Right.
All great questions for your DE.
Okay.
But the key is to actually keep that communication going and not forget that your DE is there to help you.
Right.
They can't help you if they can't find you.
Right. I had another question. So with my DE, I had a phone call with her the first week that she was assigned to me, and that was when she had edited my first story, and we were talking a little bit about the theme of my actual book. And since then, we've kind of, like, I've tagged her in a couple of things, and we've only been messaging back and forth, but I actually haven't had another phone call with her. Is that something that I should do, or do you think, like, as at this stage, I don't have too many questions? We've mostly just been messaging. Do you think that's fine?
If you're satisfied with the messaging, a phone call is not a requirement.
Right.
A phone call is an option.
Right.
So if you are sitting there one night and going, none of this works. I don't like where I'm going here. Book a phone call with your DE to talk it out. Don't sit there and kind of spin your wheels and then 3 weeks later still be stuck in the same spot spinning your wheels. You can request a phone call at any time.
Okay, that's a good point.
Never feel like you can't ask for a phone call, like you can't ask for a private chat. You absolutely can at any time. But if a DE offers you a phone call and you're like, no, man, I don't need to talk to you. That's okay too. Just read my story. Here's my tag. That's fine too.
Okay.
But it's definitely your resource to use. But you know, when you need it, you need to choose to use it. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay, that's good to know. Did you guys have anything else? Or no? Okay. Yeah, I think we're good on our end.
Okay, great. Well, if you guys have any other questions, you can feel free. Please tag your DE Wrangler, or tag me. Especially if you if you're having a problem getting hold of your DE, definitely tag me and let me know. But if you have any questions, like I said, you can tag any of us. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day and a great session.
Thank you. You guys have been so amazing so far, so thank you for all that.
Oh, you're very welcome. Like I said, if you have questions, just tag my name and I'll be right back to you.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, I'm just gonna stop the video. Okay, yeah, I've like messaged her a ton. I think she's always like liking other people's comments when I'm tagging them. Who is this person? But she's been great, so helpful.
Her name was
Shonda, so
Shonda.
Chanda, and like it's Elaine Spurl. But yeah, she was the one who messaged me before you guys got your DE saying like, hey, like give me a brief rundown of what each person in your group's writing about. So I did, and then based on that, I'm guessing that.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just open up the slide deck that I had sent you guys. Screen. Okay. So I don't think this session too long. The session isn't too long. Basically, in week 2, as she kind of mentioned, we're in week 2 of stories. We're just trying to write stories. What I did find interesting was that they recommended a scribe app, and I had never heard of this, but this is exactly what I've been looking for, and I actually tried it out this morning. So basically you upload a audio file and it literally does all the transcribing for you. And I didn't even know this because it's not super like accurate. Like there's a lot of iffy stuff here and there, which makes sense, but it's a free service. I think you get up to 900 minutes transcribed for free.
Wow.
And it's so cool because I have so many of these audio files that I've just been kind of like lazy to listen to again. So I've been taking jot notes, but this literally does it word for word per minute, like per second. And like
that is a life.
I know. So it's just called otter.ai. Okay. And it's it's in the PowerPoint that I'd sent you, but I know I wish we found out about this earlier. Because I kept trying to find a great source and I couldn't. Yeah. And it's amazing how this one's free. Yeah, so that's basically a big takeaway from this meeting.
Okay. Yeah, because I was so worried. I'm like, I'm probably missing so many good points from my interviews.
Exactly.
Some of them are really long too. They're like an hour long.
Right.
And
So you don't want to go through it and listen to everything.
Oh my god, okay.
It was good. And like even if it doesn't properly transcribe it, you'll have a lot of the key messages and you'll be able to pull, let's say, direct quotes, direct ideas straight from it. Okay, cool. So what this PowerPoint's kind of saying is like the scribe method, where basically you're interviewing someone, you try transcribing it, and then that's when you edit. So you can even just directly use this and try to like delete stuff and formulate a story, but I find it's a lot more helpful to just use this as a guide and then type separately. Okay. So let's see what he says. Oh yeah, so what I do is normally I'll actually just record it on my phone and then upload it as a file. There was this app that I was using when I had a free trial, and it was called Tape a Call Lite. So basically, like, you had to agree to pay, you got a free trial. I think when you first subscribe, you could choose let's say the 1 month deal for $6.99, and it's a 1 week trial. But what I did was I just selected that, and I just canceled it before the trial was done, so I didn't end up paying the month. Okay. But I ended up getting to use it for a week. Okay. And I liked this because you just make a call through this, and it would record it directly on your phone.
I was looking for something. Yeah,
I know. And most of them are paid, but if you just literally do what I did and cancel it before the day it's due, you don't get charged at all.
Oh, so this is
it's called
1
Tape.
week free trial?
Yeah, it's 1 week free trial, and how I thought it was even if I don't cancel it before the 1 week, it's $6.99. It's not a big dent in the budget, but yeah, you can literally just cancel it. And it was great because it records it, and then you can listen back, and then what you could do is just upload it into Otter and get the whole thing transcribed. So
I was having a hard time, sometimes I was out at the library and I was like, okay, I want to put in my headphones and record, it like as I'm talking to my head.
But you can't.
There's nothing like that.
I
Or even
know.
just even on my laptop, I tried so hard
I
like
know.
changing the settings.
I know, but this one does, so like if you have your
Really
headphones in, because it's recording it from like the source or whatever.
Okay.
Because what even I did before was like I would be speaking on my phone in speakerphone and record it on my laptop and like, but that was just weird because I could hear myself typing sometimes and like it felt weird to be on speaker and like you can't do that if you're in like the library, right?
Yeah.
Like I would usually do my calls from home, so that's why I could do it. But
Yeah.
I know it's hard to like find these resources.
Yeah. I'm surprised Apple doesn't have that feature.
I agree.
I was really bummed.
I agree. Because you would think a lot of people would use it, like business professionals, like any profession.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't want to go into this too much in depth, but basically this is kind of, Hannah, I don't know if you got to watch the video from the last session.
Yeah.
It's pretty helpful. So maybe go through it before you start the story writing process, because he goes through this idea of like the different plots we can use and how you can structure it. And I liked it because once you kind of got it structured, when you're actually typing, it's so easy to pull different elements together. So that's essentially kind of what this is saying. And you turn each of the, let me just see what else he has here. So the workshop for this thing or for this session was basically like to be interviewed by someone else in the group. I don't know if you guys want to do that. I feel like it might be more helpful to just kind of like, I don't know, what do you guys want to do? Like work on our own stuff. We can chat a little bit more about like what we're doing now, what we want to do this week.
Yeah.
Not you guys.
Yeah. I think I like that more. Like maybe like concerns or whatever.
Yeah. Because it's helpful. Like we only meet once a week, and I think it's nice to kind of have like a support group, just to kind of run our different ideas past each other. So let me go through this just to make sure I'm not forgetting. Okay, so we did that. Yeah, that was the main thing that he wanted us to do this session, is just to try out the Otter.ai platform and then to practice interview guides, scribe writing. But I guess if you guys have a lot of like your interviews kind of already set and you kind of already started writing stories, like it might make more sense to just kind of continue with that process.
Yeah.
So,
and I like how we have to work our editor to like, are these questions good to ask?
Yeah.
I didn't know we could do that.
I know, that's so interesting. Okay. Oh, so Eric also sent me something a while back saying that there were a couple people. Oh, so they were apparently at another school. There's some people organizing book work time sessions, kind of like what you mentioned, how we all come together and just work on our story. So he sent me a document saying like organizing a book work session. So I think the main thing to this is that like if you come together, everyone's kind of working, like we're not distracting each other, let's say for like an hour, 2 hours straight, and then we try to set a goal for ourselves. So let's say by the end of the session, we get 2 stories in, and then after that we can go for like ice cream or like drinks or something, right? Like something fun to kind of celebrate. So I think it'd be kind of nice to do that, like even if it's once a week, once every 2 weeks, like not too much, because considering this month is so busy for school, but even at least trying one, because I think it'd be nice to kind of come together and just write, and then that way we're kind of keeping each other motivated.
Yeah, I like that. I think that'd be nice after we get our reports.
Yeah,
then,
good
like,
idea.
We'll probably all be on crunch time. Like, oh, I really
I need to. Yeah.
So then we can like meet up. Like,
Yeah.
on Monday or Tuesday or whatever.
That's a good idea. So she did mention that the reports are coming at the end of this week, right?
Yeah,
so,
she did. Yeah.
So after they come out, I'll probably message the chat saying like what week works for you guys to arrange something, and then we can all pick a time.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah, and then after we can go to like Kogo or something. We can go to QP, like anything.
Okay.
It'll be a good time.
Down. Yes.
So that was that. I wanted to bring that up, and then other than that, let me just open our member updates. And I will just get a formal little thing from you guys. So, Brenda, maybe just give me another one of your updates for this.
Oh yes.
You did your first story.
I did my first story. So I played the editor in it, and I'm working on the second story. And I'm doing a little bit more external research than the week before.
Okay. And I also found a good writing routine because I thought that was interesting. And then Hannah, what about you?
I'm just about to start my first story.
Okay.
And I'm talking to Eric and my developmental editor.
Okay. Okay. And then how do you kind of feel about maybe the direction of your book? Like, is there anything you wanted to bring up?
Yeah,
Like
so like I
concerns?
talked to my family. They were saying like if I just focus on like Chinese like first generation Chinese, it might be like too narrow. So they actually have a lot of resources about like Korean, Japanese, and Indian. They want me to be like more
Oh, I see.
broad, like the
Okay.
first generation of Asians.
Okay.
Mhm.
Like
I like that, but I feel like because you're like a first generation,
Yeah.
like you won't be able to tell your story if it's like from
Yeah.
another like perspective.
Yeah. Also,
right?
I was gonna like focus on the like the challenges we face.
Yeah.
But like Eric was trying to say like maybe you should put more emphasis on like the standout people, like how they become successful. And not the
Oh,
challenges.
that's true. Like it's more of a
Yeah.
positive kind of
Yes, so
tone,
think
right?
about that perspective. Like there are not a lot like Chinese who are actually really successful.
Here, you mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So
Have you been able to find some people, find some interviews?
yeah, I actually know some like one Indian guy and one Korean guy
Okay.
who like was able to find like really successful Chinese.
Okay.
So that's why I think like maybe I should just more
Mm-hmm.
broad. So I still did it.
You could. Oh, I guess I don't know if it's gonna be exactly
And
the
it's
same
usually,
story,
that's,
but
like,
have you looked
first generation like
Oh,
Chinese?
that's
like most people come here like 10 years ago and now they're still like studying, so like they're not like that successful.
Doesn't first generation just mean that your parents weren't born here, but you were born here?
No, like you can
Oh, like
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
not
Oh, like not.
like your parents came here and you were born here. Like you're not
Oh.
born here. You can be here.
first
Yeah.
generation?
Yeah, like international students.
You know what you could try doing? Queens has an international center, like the.
Yeah. Yeah. but,
quick.
like, yeah, I know.
So like I don't know if like they have like a network of international students who
Okay.
are studying here, but
Yeah.
maybe even going to them, seeing like if they could put you
Yeah.
in touch with anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I was gonna say look into celebrities, but I don't know.
Yeah.
If
Or
you'll
like I'll
find
think
first
about like a
generation.
YouTuber. Like, that's
Yeah. Like I'm sure there must be stories
Yeah,
like on like
yeah, there
interviews
are a
done with
lot.
other people.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
I like the idea of going broad because you do get more stories. But
Yeah.
I think it's also like kind of what Eric says. He likes the idea of like having more of a niche market,
Yeah.
and especially for yours, like if you make it niche, you're able to incorporate more of your own personal stories.
Exactly.
Because you come from that background, you
Yeah.
have those experiences to
Mhm.
share. So I'm just wondering if you made it more broad, like would that diminish your ability
Yeah.
to kind of add your own stuff? I don't know.
That's a good question.
Maybe you could test it out, like try interviewing
I
them,
was,
or
like,
like at least like
thinking-
try like getting as much of research as you can on
Yeah.
both ends, and then seeing what you end up with.
Yeah.
Because if you really find nothing for just like the Chinese side, then like you might have to actually open it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also a question about like the actual like publishing process. Like, do we pay to publish the book?
I think there is definitely a fee, but
Okay.
from what Eric told me, I think it all depends on like, do you want the book hardcover, for example, you add extra money. Do you want it like actively marketed, add extra money.
Okay.
But if you guys want, like you can message him directly, get an idea of the fee.
Okay.
And like sometimes even let's say you finish this book, if you want to like not publish it at all, or even
Okay.
like find another route to publish it, you can totally do that. Like
Okay.
by no means are you locked into this publishing process.
Okay.
So it's very flexible in the end. Yeah, I don't know too much. I don't know
Yeah, I
too
don't know.
much about it
Yeah.
either. But a lot of his students have gone through it, so I'm sure that's like at least a credible
Yeah.
sign.
Yeah, that's what's like making me feel a bit better about the whole
Yeah.
process. So I'm like past having it ready to be published,
Yeah.
I don't know what it's gonna look like.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they'll make it clear once we get closer to it.
I think so too. And it is nice having like new degree press publish it, because like you know that they're gonna publish it
Yeah.
because you've been through this whole journey. Whereas like if you try to go off and find your own, that might be like a completely different challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So it all depends on like, it's very like up to you guys though.
Mhm.
Like I probably like, depending on what this book turns out, like, I probably will just end up going with them because
Yeah.
it's easier and it's
Yeah.
stress free.
Yeah. And I feel like he kind of briefly mentioned this last time, so it got me thinking, like you said, if your book's not ready to be publishable, we can work on it to make it publishable.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like there's still a chance to like make it publishable, and then either I guess we can hold on to
Yeah.
it and like go elsewhere or go with him.
Yeah. Like I think
Yeah.
the main thing for him is just like honestly the process of it. Like it's
Yeah.
just this development stage. Like I don't think he's really involved in like
that side, the
Yeah.
publishing side. Like I know Brian is, like Brian works with New Degree Press, but
Okay.
Eric is just like with Creator Institute, like he's helping these students do the process,
Okay.
which is nice to know.
That's
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Okay, debating your story. I'm just gonna type this.
So before you write the story, how many interviews do you have to like time?
One interview can be like one story.
Oh,
Yeah, like that's what I'm finding. A lot of my interviews gave me more of an idea of what I want to talk about, and then I did my external research and like stuff like podcasts or like personal stories about patients. I use them as my story. So really, I think you can make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see what else to do. I think that was all that he wanted to mostly cover. Did you guys want to chat about anything else, like story-wise, process-wise? Like, how did you approach your first story? Like, what was that whole process like?
So let me just open it up.
Yeah.
So, okay, just a brief background. There's a website, and it's like a non-profit organization in Canada, and it basically is like for patients.
Okay.
Or it speaks for patients and patient safety. So it has like all these resources. It has all these interviews that they've done with patients who've had harm done to them in hospitals, and like the effects that patients have experienced. And then I recently found like this whole other thing of healthcare professionals who've made mistakes and how that has affected them, and it was so much fun. So I've honestly I just picked one patient who had a similar I can never pronounce it, but anesthesiologist.
Oh yeah, it's a big word.
Yeah, even typing, I finally learned how to spell it properly. But she had like that. Basically, she became aware during her surgery.
Okay.
And she was paralyzed, so she couldn't speak or do anything, but she could feel everything that they were doing to her, like surgically wise. And she went into all this detail, and you can see like the effects it had on her, like even years after. Like I got emotional about it. I was like, oh my gosh. So that fit really well into the external research that I've done on that specific like surgical procedure about patients coming awake. So I thought it fit perfectly. So I used that interview as like my main story, and I kind of talked about what happened to her basically. That's why it was so long, because like I wanted to get into like some of the details that might not even be important, maybe, but
no, but it's better to have more words, and later on you can just cut them out.
Yeah, and I think like I guess with you can add more of a personal touch. With me, it's like more of a textbook based, so I want to get that emotional feel from it, you know. So like these interviews really helped me. So yeah, that's basically how I started. I just picked one and I just started typing, and it ended up being good.
Yeah, I think the big thing is like I have a lot of interviews to draw from, but at the same time I can see like, let's say, one person's story being incorporated into multiple parts of the book. So now my concern is like, okay, I want to get their full story written, but at the same time, like, should I do should I do one of the first initial stories first, where like their ideas can first come to light, and then their personal story comes to light in like the second half of the book? Like that's my biggest dilemma, because like I can't plan out the whole thing. But I guess it kind of goes back to what you're saying, like just write it down, have like those like, let's say 2,000 words in per story, get it to my editor, and then like go from there.
And like just think of it as bits and pieces, so even if one thing you're writing you don't see where it fits, you can fit it somewhere in the book. Like it doesn't have to be like, when I got stories for chapters, but they're just like parts of chapters or even parts of ideas.
True.
Because I don't think they're fully like chapters. So I was like, okay, well that's less pressure to have more of a structured story.
That's a good point.
So honestly, just for anything like random, like even theme that you think is important, start writing about it. And then through the research, you'll find that like it becomes more specific, which is, I guess, what you want. Like, you want more specific. That's true. So honestly, just start.
Do it.
Start on something. And everything like, I mean, my second story kind of fits with my first one. It's like falling into place. So that's how I see it working. Maybe it's different. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, just start like anywhere.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like in my story index, let me just pull it up. Because I was kind of thinking, so like, let's say if I do make my title like, let's say learning to learn, different stories could be, let's say like one of them I have is learning to lead. So it's this whole aspect of like you learn and then you share the knowledge with others. So that came like those are like two different interviews combined into one. And I was debating like, oh, it'd be interesting if I did like learning to lead, learning to like find balance in life, learning to like be open. So like those would be all different like sections of chapters. But again, like I don't know how that would fit. But I think I'm just overthinking it too much, right?
Because I was exactly like telling all these things to Eric, and he's like calm down.
Girl, calm down.
I think like for me that's like the perfectionist I talk about. Like wanting, so honestly, just even break down those.
Right.
And like I think you can have the like more like the same hero in 2-3 stories. Like it doesn't you know, so just like take like learning to lead, for example, and even break that down into like 4 or 5 pieces if you want, and be like one section of this will be this, and like just break it down into whatever's easier.
That's a good point.
For me, I thought like my goal was okay, I'll just write 2 paragraphs,
Right.
and then it honestly like I started thinking of stuff on the spot. I was like, oh, okay, that's like, you know, so it really does like flow. When I think the hard part is just starting, because it's 100% daunting. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't even know how I'm going to start things. Like, I realized I haven't done introductions in a long time. So
do you not write them for your essays and students?
I mean, it's like more reports, so it's very plain. Like, I'm in bio, so
true.
You know, like, we don't have introductions, so like I'm very factual, and this is very like helping me to be less factual, I guess.
This is such a good growth process.
It really
like
is.
We're learning so much, not only about like the book and like the writing process, but like life in general.
Exactly.
Like, I'm so shook.
Yeah, and like motivation too, and like getting yourself like the willpower to get yourself up and like write with a schedule.
Yeah.
That has been a problem for me like forever. I literally have no willpower. I really don't. Like I'm always on my phone. I, like, never
it's so easy to just like like let's see what's happening.
Exactly. So it's really like it helps. I think a lot. I think like I tell myself if I get anything out of this experience, it's just like growing myself. Self growth, and I don't know. We'll see.
Like think about all that we're gonna be able to talk about at the end of this journey. Like we like started this
Totally.
project with no idea, no platform, then we grew it into something bigger.
Exactly.
It's gonna be so great to talk about in like, interviews.
For sure, and that's like sometimes I go back to that. I'm like, well, now I have like a passion that I can actually talk about.
Exactly.
In like,
Exactly. And like I actually so I had a Her Campus article like literally due today, which I wrote yesterday. As literally it is like Thursday, and they won't even say anything. Haley like does that every week apparently.
Really? Oh my god. You know what I always do? I always like message them, be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this. I'm sorry, but
what do they say? Like they're probably just like, oh, it's fine.
They are. It's fine. And sometimes they get like, oh, but just as a reminder, let us know 2 days before. And I feel like,
I feel that.
And, like I'm like friends with these people.
Oh,
really
true.
Awkward. So I've probably like powered it out.
It's just like random because we know we have 2 weeks to write it. I don't know why every single time I start thinking about what I'm gonna write the day before.
Literally.
And I'm just like, I think of a topic, I'm like, well, yes, I'm going with that. Like, we're on a time crunch here.
Yeah,
so the one I read about yesterday was like, I don't know if you guys have heard about the 10,000 hour rule before. It's like, so I just read this book over the break called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. And he's a Canadian author and journalist. And it's this whole idea of like, people really aren't like the really successful people, they're not self-made. It's just a matter of like they have the right opportunities, and like even about legacy, so like what culture they're from, like ethnicity, stuff like that. And like he talks a lot about the 10,000 hour rule, which is basically you have to have 10,000 hours of practice to become a true expert at something. So in his book he like talks about the Beatles, for example. Like I think way before they got famous, like right when they were first starting out as a band, they were somehow given like these 8-hour gigs to play at this city called like Hamburg or something. And the reason why they were given such long shifts was because like I think the bar or like the pub had trouble finding other musicians, so they were just asked to play for the entire night. And I think they did this like 3 nights in a week. So he was saying like, yeah, obviously they weren't great at the beginning, but like playing for those 8 hours a day helped them to get those hours in. And then when the time came to perform like at their big break or whatever, like those hours of practice are what made them ready for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like 10,000 hours. Like I know it's just a catchy number. It's probably not true, but I guess with any like skill or passion, you have to kind of achieve that level. So this book, it's kind of like, I know we're not going to get close to 10,000 hours, but it's still a significant chunk of time spent writing and like researching and like doing that stuff. And I think we're going to really come out of it with like a good skill.
Yeah, especially like at our age. I was thinking, again, I'm like, it feels cool to think like by the end, like I'll learn so much about public patient safety and like things like this. And it's kind of like a degree in it of itself.
Yeah, I
you know?
agree.
Like, I feel like I'm just teaching myself all these things, and like literally there are master programs that like talk about certain things like this, and like, well, this is cool. And I'm just learning.
It's
You know,
not
it's nice.
crazy.
Yeah,
I
that's a good
know.
point.
And then maybe later on in life, an opportunity will come up and you've got the practice for it
Yeah,
already.
that's true.
Like you're ready to go.
That's true.
My mom always told me that like opportunities come to those who are ready for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is like the ready stages, you know, and then we're growing ourselves, and then when we actually need it, like we'll be there kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. Even in just like giving out interviews, like
I
that to
know.
me, I've not like
Never.
Even still, like my last interview that I did, and I did I think like 5 already. It was fine. I got the information needed, and the person was really sweet. Like he was like helpful and saw that I was nervous, but I messed up a lot, and I was like, there's still so much practice. Like, I feel like throughout the process, like we'll become more confident in that.
Exactly. Like I remember in high school, in grade 11, I was like on this club at school where like I had a sponsorship role, so like I had to like call like all these businesses in the area and like basically get them to donate like money or like in-kind donations, which is so scary. And like me
in high school.
I know, me being in grade 11, like I would like have panic attacks like before phone calls. I would have to like rehearse the whole thing to myself before dialing the number. And now like I'm just thinking like now I just pick up the phone and like do the interview and like I like it shows the growth along the way. And I guess like the more you do, now the more comfortable I feel.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
It's like I guess you don't really think about all this stuff until you reflect on it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like we've done like a good like amount of work, even if we're just like in the beginning stages, to see those changes. Like this is a lot, even just like structuring this meeting, researching and stuff like that is like way beyond like, not to say that I don't have a structured life,
right?
but like this is like more structured into it, and like again with willpower and like being more organized and on top of things.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. Okay, I'm just gonna I might close the meeting just because I don't think Haley needs to hear our random talking, our deep conversations. Okay.
Yeah.